want to welcome everybody to our first meeting in January. And we are going to continue our subject of reimagining criminal justice. We had a program about this last March. Max Zabot was the one of our featured speakers at that time, and he's come back to join us. So that's the theme. We're going to start out with some announcements and club business. We're going to preview our next meeting. These are our featured speakers that you all know about that we when you registered, and then we have a couple of things at the end in terms of did you know.
This is Kathy Bradford. We have our board of directors term of office is up in July at the July meeting. Our board will be appointing a nominating committee to nominate officers for the new year. The nominating committee is composed of 3 members of the club. No more than 1 member of the current board is on there. So we're looking for 2 more people from the general membership who would like to be part of the nominating committee. More information about how to volunteer will be posted in our January newsletter. And also our current recording secretary, Asha will be leaving soon. And according to our bylaws, the president is responsible for finding a candidate. Please let us know if you want to volunteer. You can get to us through the contact us page on the web page.
Okay, on January 6th, I think probably most of you know that we organized a Stop the Big Lie rally at Founders Park right next to the Trump golf course main building there. And we had a really good turnout. We had over 70 people, and this was a work day in the middle of the day. So I felt like that was pretty wonderful. We were only allowed to have up to 50 people in that location since we didn't have a permit, and we exceeded that, but nobody shooed us away. And we had several speakers, a speaker from each of the organizations that was sponsoring the event. And then our keynote speaker was Mayor Pat Fury, who pointed out that you can't say the word patriot without Pat. And without Pat, you have a riot. I'll never forget that. But anyway, all the speakers were, in spite of what I just said, all the speakers were very inspiring and on point. And it was a really good rally. And then we went up to the street and waved our signs some more, and people honked, got a lot of good support up there as well. So as rallies go, I think it was quite successful.
Okay, so our next meeting is on February 16th, and we're going to have Los Angeles Times columnist Michael Hilsick join us again. He was with us last January, and I think he's saying he might make it an annual event. He just couldn't come this January, and but he did agree to come in February. So he, if for those of you who are following his columns, you should expect a very enlightening meeting. He had a recent column about California's plan to create a universal single-payer healthcare system to be called CalCare. So I just wanted to go a couple of things that he said in this column, and I'm sure he's going to talk about it as well in February. But Assembly Bill 1400, which is sponsored by the California Nurses Association, must be sent by January 31st from the Assembly to the Senate. The single-payer proposal also includes a separate constitutional amendment, Assembly Constitutional Amendment 11, providing for the system's financing. So the goal is to first pass Assembly Bill 1400 to establish the single-payer principle in the state law, and to put off the ACA 11 until after the state secures all the federal waivers necessary for its takeover of federal programs such as Medicare and California's Medi-Cal. So I just wanted to point that out for those of you who are following it. We will hopefully have a discussion about this in future meetings, and just wanted to give some details. So we're also here virtually, and that's because of the different variants. And our board has decided that we'll be virtual through March. So January, February, March, all our meetings will be virtual. Then we hope to go back to the library, the Peninsula Library, in a hybrid format. So those who want to come still on Zoom can, and those who want to be in person can. So tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day, and I thought the slogan "A day on, not a day off" was very appropriate. So the day before Martin Luther King was assassinated, April 4th, 1968, he gave this speech to support the striking sanitation workers at Mason Temple in Tennessee. For when people get caught up with that which is right and they are willing to sacrifice for it, there is no stopping point short of victory. So this was his "I've been to the mountaintop" speech, April 3rd, and then he was assassinated the next day. You want to say something Paul didn't say? He is running for RPV City Council. So so we talked about the Torrance. Is RPV City Council on the June ballot or a November ballot?
No, so RPV is it's at large into November. So it's
Okay.
yeah, so basically like Torrance, but in November. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have the yeah.
Yeah, so I have a little bit more time than Jimmy and all those folks for June race. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
Ellen.
We'll have you back for that.
Sounds
All right.
good.
I know I'm going to get to you, Tony. So we have a few more charts to share, and Tony wants to speak about the LACD, wants to give an LACDP report. So we'll let Tony go first, and then we're going to share our screen.
Okay, thank you. I'd risen my hand because Jimmy Gao had to go. He had another meeting he had to go to, and he just wanted me to put in one more word for him. We are faced, it is really, we're faced with losing every Democrat on the Torrance City Council. So this is a big city. It's an important race, and any support that the club members could give to Jimmy Gao and the other Democratic candidates that are running would be very helpful. But I'll go to the thing that I was going to talk about here, since I think that's up next. At the last general meeting of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, we failed to endorse a candidate for sheriff of LA County. And that's surprising because we passed 2 resolutions through that same body critical of the sheriff, and one calling for his resignation. There are several reasons for that, but let me talk shortly about the process. When there are a number of judges running for sheriff, the odds of one of them reaching the 60% threshold is difficult. So in an important race like this, sometimes the party will do an early endorsement where they set up a special committee. And this committee is comprised of county Democratic Party leaders from across the county that come together in a special meeting, interview in depth the candidates, and then make a recommendation to the body. They did that, and they overwhelmingly recommended Chief Cecil Rambo, who I think has spoken to this organization before. Now, how did we not reach this endorsement? One of the reasons, there were several factors. One factor was progressives in the party did not like the process. They didn't like the fact that there was a special committee set up. So some of them actually admitted they voted against the candidate because they didn't like the process. And there's a large contingent of Long Beach members in our county Democratic Party, and one of the candidates that's running for sheriff, Luna, is from Long Beach. So that siphoned off a number of votes. And then in addition to that, all the other candidates besides Rambo worked together to stop the endorsement. They reached out to their supporters and asked them to vote for no endorsement because they knew they could not win the party's endorsement, and they wanted to stop the one person who could get it from getting it. Now, these kind of conflicts are not unheard of in our party, especially in the endorsement process. There's a lot of vying for the endorsement, and if they can't get it, they try to be a spoiler and stop anyone else from getting it. But with important races like this, it would be my wish that my fellow members would look beyond their personal preferences when they see that their candidate cannot win the endorsement, and vote in favor, come together and coalesce around a candidate so that we can endorse. So as a consequence, the largest Democratic body in the country, the LA County Democratic Party, will not endorse and will stand by powerless and through the primary. It's an unfortunate situation, but surprise, surprise, there's politics in Los Angeles County Democratic Party. So, but anyway, I did want to give people some insight into that. It was a very important endorsement. We were unable to do it, and stay tuned.
Okay, thank you. I think people are a little wary that the Democratic Party endorsed Villanueva.
Yeah, and I recognize that too. There weren't. It's hard when there's like only one viable Democrat running against a Republican, and so it's hard not to endorse under those circumstances. But the problem is, are we not compounding the problem even more by doing nothing the next round?
Oh, I agree.
So,
Yeah.
so
No, very well said.
thank you.
Connie, you can go, and Reggie, could you share the charts? Because Connie's supposed to speak to the next.
Oh, I was going to say something about what Tony just said.
I know you can. I'm saying while you're talking, let's let Reggie share the charts too.
So I agree with everything he said, and all the factors that he said that played in. But I think there was another one which Ann mentioned, that a lot of people there felt like they'd been burned by Villanueva and having endorsed him. And I think they were just kind of afraid to vote for anyone. And they listened a lot to the negative comments that were coming from all the other candidates who were trying to take down Cecil Rambo and to stop his endorsement. And unfortunately, it worked. So I agree with Tony. We should have endorsed. It's because I don't want another 4 years of Villanueva, which could become another 20 years of Villanueva, because there's no term limits for sheriff. So you've put up this slide. Thank you. There is some information here that I didn't know about. This is Ann's slide, that Katie Porter is going to be running in a bluer district. I think that's wonderful. And I did know that Harley Ruda had backed out because they would both be running against each other had he stayed in. And Long Beach Mayor Robert Garcia is running against Christina Garcia. And that's going to be a tough race. Christina Garcia has her own constituency. She's an assemblywoman, and she's popular in her part of the district. I don't know how many votes come from her part of the district and how many votes come from Robert Garcia's portion of the district, but that's going to be an interesting race to watch. And then the LA County Supervisors redistricting. I spent a lot of time going to these hearings and speaking. And unfortunately, while I feel like they listened to me some, the portion of Janice Hahn's district, which is District 4, that kind of brown looking district at the bottom there, which will be our district. We just couldn't get the commission to put the beach cities in with the rest of the South Bay. So we've got Torrance, and I believe Torrance and San Pedro and Palos Verdes, and probably, I can't see everything there, but I'm pretty sure Lomita and Wilmington and places like that. But we're missing the beach cities. They've been severed off from us, and they are now going to have Holly Mitchell, who is a wonderful supervisor. She really is, but it makes more sense to me for them to also have been in our district. One of the important criteria for determining these districts is communities of interest, and the beach cities, along with Torrance and Palos Verdes, are a single community of interest, if you ask me. I know I spend a lot of time in Torrance and a lot of time in the beach cities, and I'm sure everybody else on this, everybody else up here does as well. So, but in the end, a a lot of things go into these. Their communities of interest is a very important piece of it, but also not breaking up racial voting blocks is very important. And that's hard to do because over the course of this last 10 years, people don't stay in one place, they move around. So maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, all of the African-American folks were in South Central, but there aren't that many located in South Central anymore. They have dispersed somewhat. And so creating a Black district, which they were trying to do, was problematic for them. The district that Holly Mitchell currently has is comprised of something like 30% African Americans. And the one that she is going to have also is around 30%. But they were arguing over 27% versus 30%. You know, it was kind of crazy. There was a big push to create 3 majority Latino districts. And in the end, those people advocating for that are the ones that won. And LA County is comprised of 40% now is Latino, but not 60%, but they are going to have 3 majority Latino districts. And Janice Hans is the most Latino of those districts with, I think it's 60% Latino, something like that. I don't think she's imperiled. I think she'll win her next race. She's incredibly popular in San Pedro and Long Beach and Palos Verdes. And I'm sure that the new areas that she will now be representing will come to love her as much as the rest of us do. So I don't think she's imperiled. But and so let's see, Sheila Keel's district is the blue one there. She's resigning and she's stepping down. She's completing her term and stepping down, and that's this year. So there are a number of people running in that race. It seems like I hear about a new person every day in that race. Richard Bloom, I believe, is in that race. He's an assembly member from Santa Monica. I think Henry Stern, the state senator from Malibu, is running there, along with Lindsay Horvath, a city council person and former mayor of West Hollywood. She kind of got out in front, but now there are these other big names jumping in that race. Hilda Solis is number 1, that's the red portion, and Catherine Barger is the green portion, district number 5. For a while there, it looked like we were going to be severed from Janice Hahn, and that didn't happen. So I'm very happy about that. So all in all, we're with Torrance, we're with Janice Hahn, we're with San Pedro. It came out pretty good for us.
Thank you. So with the Martin Luther King birthday tomorrow, or the day on tomorrow, and also in the news, January 5th, Louisiana Governor Edwards posthumously pardoned Homer Plessy, who was convicted of the Separate Car Act of 1890. So I don't, so this gets back to what are we taught in school? So what I was remembering about that was the separate but equal, but I really didn't know anything about Homer Plessy. And when I was watching Governor Edwards on TV and they were showing pictures of the family, I thought I was looking at the wrong thing because they were white. They looked white. And I thought, what? I said, I must have this wrong. And so I Googled it and realized that the way that Plessy became a plaintiff was that he only had 1/8 colored blood and he could pass as white. And I was just thinking, I mean, wouldn't this be amazing if this is what we were taught in school, that you were taught the backgrounds of these cases and not just that it was a separate but equal. Because it's so interesting that what they were trying to do is that his race was ambiguous, and that they thought that if he sat in the train car that I mean, it would force the court to consider that there wasn't scientific evidence on what race he was, and they couldn't, that they could argue that a person with 1/8 African ancestry was, they wouldn't even know what race he is. And I just thought, I just wanted to put it in, did you know, maybe you guys knew, but it was only because he got pardoned, posthumously pardoned, that it made me look, and it made me think about how we're taught in school. So I just wanted to share that with you today. And then the next chart, Reggie, yeah. So I just think this is terrific. We're going to have other meetings about climate change, but I mean, for those of you who already do this, congratulations. I know I already do this, but to have everybody being told that all their food scraps are going to go into the green waste container, I think is a big win for California. And that means all your food waste. So if you're not composting in your yard, or you have no way to do it, this says that you can put all your food waste in your green waste container, and you can protect our environment. So we'll have more on climate change in future meetings, but for those who haven't seen the announcement or seen the bill that got passed, but this starts this month. So
I have a question, Anne.
go ahead, Nancy.
So I live in an HOA, and
By the way, you can stop sharing. Yeah. Go ahead.
so I live in an HOA, and we don't have any green cans.
You have to tell them all multi-family. I know I've talked to people. They don't. I've talked to my daughter. I said, well, she doesn't even know where her green can is. I said, well, you have someone who's gardening there, so there's got to be a green can. But yeah, so even in your HOA, I mean, you have someone's taking care of the yard. So, but they have to make it known to you. Now, obviously, people have to then have a container in their kitchen where they have to collect it, and they have to decide if they do it every day, take it out. But yeah, your complex has to give you a green container to put it in outside, the same place that they're putting their cuttings.
So I guess it would be useful for cities to put that in their city newsletters to let people that are living in HOAs know about that, because I know that now, but
But I know Palos Verdes Estates has put that out to all their residents.
Yeah, so I'm gonna see if I can get RPV to do that.
Yeah, I can forward you their email.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony?
Thank you for the information.
Sure.
Right now, I give my scraps to my mom and dad. And they're composting.
Very good. Very good. Tony?
Okay, thanks.
Oh, just a quick comment on that, and then I have an announcement when it's appropriate time. There are many municipalities that don't have recycling, let alone green recycling. So we need to push for that to be a uniform opportunity for individuals and communities. Because like in Torrance, when we had our headquarters there was no recycling program at all.
Hey, Ann.
Yes.
I actually didn't know you were going to say what you said. So I just wanted to ask a question or clarify something. The idea here is that your food wastes currently, if it goes into the trash, gets degrades and then creates methane in the landfills. If you're composting it at home, I believe it's true that you're still releasing methane. I think the idea behind capturing it in the green waste is that it goes to a commercial composter, which will capture the methane. So I think you need to differentiate between composting at home and putting it in the green waste, because composting at home, I don't think helps the methane problem.
That's true. But the amount that you compost at home is like a drop in the bucket. So what they're talking about is.
Well, of course, but all I'm saying is.
But you're right. That's true. They are
Okay.
diverting it from the landfill, so it doesn't create the methane.
Right.
And someone asked, when does it start? I think it starts,
January 1.
yeah, January 1. I mean, yeah, starts now. I mean, they're not going to, go after anybody for a couple years, but they're starting the infrastructure to do it right now.
And just one additional comment about what Tony said. I think there currently are requirements with respect to diverting from landfills that are statewide. Not all municipalities are as far along as the South Bay is.
Okay, Rasha?
Okay, yeah. I have a question about that because we do compost, but there's certain things that you can't put in the compost, like meat scraps. You don't put meat scraps in, bones and things like that. So are those supposed to go in the green containers?
Yes, all food,
All food.
all
Okay.
food scraps.
All
Right.
right.
I don't think so, Anne.
No, I read it. It's all food scraps.
And I read just the opposite.
Wow, I mean, I'm reading from what Palos Verdes Estate sent out.
Oh, okay. All right. But I think the state law doesn't require it. Maybe, and different municipalities can.
Mhm.
But what I read was that the state wasn't requiring meat to be put in.
Yeah, so they give examples of it and, yeah.
Meat
it's-
and fish.
And they capitalize all, ALL, all.
People are often discouraged from composting meat at home because it requires such a high temperature to control that process. But perhaps in this industrial process, it's safer to do meat scraps and the like.
Right.
And bones and fish and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Because
I mean,
none of that
also,
goes.
well, also you don't want to put it, if you were home composting, you don't want to put it because it brings animals. So,
Right.
Right.
Ugh.
You don't want rats.
Well.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And our gardener doesn't even like to take some of the compost. It's rare that we even use it. We've got 2 composters and it just sits there. And I never
Right.
got any worms, so.
Yeah.
we just
I mean,
wait for-
I could have put more information down. I just wanted to, I figured people were getting these kind of notices from their city, but I just,
Well, if David got it, I haven't seen it, so,
yeah,
but then I don't do anything about taking out, I can't take out
yeah.
trash or do anything about
So
that anyway.
The thing it says, don't include cacti, succulents, and yucca. That's the only plant. It says don't put in coffee cups, fats, oils, grease. That's not to be put in.
Oh, that's not to go in.
Pet waste, not to go in.
And if
So
I
that-
may, the letter from Athens that came to Hermosa Beach customers is they're calling it organic waste.
Right.
And
right.
it's describing organic waste. Organic waste is defined as food waste, green waste, landscape and pruning waste, non-hazardous wood waste, and food soiled paper waste that is mixed with food waste. So that seems to include, doesn't exclude meat. There's nothing here that says meat.
Yeah.
It calls it organic waste.
So in our, so ours has a section. We can put this out in our newsletter if you like as well. It has a section in terms of where it does say under food scraps, meat, bones, and poultry, seafood and soft shells, pet food that's not non-medicated, coffee grounds, which are always good, cheese
Yeah,
and
those
dairy.
are-
Cheese and dairy, bread, rice, and pasta all are considered waste.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that we should put it out because it's confusing because it depends on who you're your trash service is coming from.
Yeah, I would think that we have EDCO in our PV.
Oh,
And I
okay,
think that they would put out some information about.
okay. Well, this is definitely, you're right, this is from Athens, but I can go back to the bill and see what I'm assuming they're taking this from the bill, and I did not go back to the Senate bill. So I can go back to the Senate bill and find the definition.
Okay.
Gavin
Anyway.
Newsom said when he was mayor of San Francisco, he had more opposition to forced composting than he did to any gay or transgender rights.
Why?
People didn't want to do it.
Oh, yeah. Karen?
Yeah, I live in Rancho Palos Verdes, and I read most everything they send to me, and I haven't seen anything from EDCO nor from the city yet as to this. I would want a big definition as to what I can put in there, because right now I don't put any of those things in the greens. So
Right.
I agree. So, I mean, this is a big change. So we'll put out information. Our newsletter comes out this coming week. So we'll put out information on the Senate bill and how it defines it. And then for those of us that are Athens, I can put in a picture of what they sent out. And then you have EDCO. We do pay probably more for Athens than you
well, I
guys.
went to a Christmas gathering with a bunch of people who are non-Democrats. And that was the first I heard of this I mean, they were all bitch, whine, moaning, complaining about, Big Brother and, dictating everything to us, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? We have to compost now? I was like, I didn't say much because I was uninformed. I didn't argue the point. Of course, I wasn't necessarily in agreement with them on a lot of other things, but
it's not that we're composting, we're just not mixing food in our trash, so that our trash that's going to the landfill or that can be recycled, like here in I don't know if it's with Eric, but we don't separate with Athens, we don't separate our plastic out because they do it at the factory. So if there's food that's combined with our garbage, then that ends up going to the landfill. It has to be clean garbage, or for
well,
recycling.
the way these people were putting it was that we were going to be forced to compost. Period.
No, it's just where you put your food.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
now
So,
I'm hearing a lot different situation from you, and I haven't read anything officially from the city.
Yeah.
And I think, and Reggie's right. I'm not, the various communities, the various services, I think, are treating this in different ways, because we're able to have a green recycling bin now for shrubbery, lawn clippings, and all of that. But this, I believe, is going to be separate from that in the Athens jurisdiction.
No, same
thing.
Same thing, because I had I was putting it with I was already doing it. I was kind of burying it in there. But I had another friend who said that the Athens garbage collector wouldn't take her bin because she had her food on top, and said, we can't do it. But now they do. It's the same green bin.
Well, then you have clarified something, because we had the same instructions to not put food and food scraps in the green waste bins before. So they got, Reggie's just right. And all of us here are right. They got to clarify this for the various communities. It's going to be very confusing.
And just a tip, we've been doing that for years. And so what we do is because you can put like cardboard and paper in that green container as well. So we wrap the scraps in paper several times, and then put that in there to reduce flies and stuff like that from congregating at the can. But so you can wrap it in paper. You can put it in an old, a small container, like you have a paper container or something. You can put it in there, and then that keeps down the smells and the flies.
Right.
So Athens could be different in each city, though. That the city might tell Athens, and through their contract, tell them which they want to take and which they don't. So because we have Athens and you have Athens, I don't think that necessarily means that the rules are the same for both of us.
So I'm going to take it back. It says green organics container, but the picture shows the same container. So I'm not sure if they're giving us a separate one. So you might be right, Tony. But again, it's going to take a little bit for us all to educate ourselves. I just think it's going the right direction. And maybe it's getting
Defund the banana peel police.
that will be yeah. Anyway, anybody else? Any other comments for our main subject, or I didn't get to get everybody's question in, and we'll have more conversations on this.
What about
Very
announcements?
interesting talk.
Yeah.
Like,
Maria, do you have your hand up? Oh, you're muted though. And while she's muting, is there anyone else who has an announcement?
I'm unmuted.
Okay.
I just wanted to say throughout this whole meeting, I have been thinking to myself, this is an excellent meeting. I just want to congratulate you and actually commend you. And it's a great meeting.
Thank you, Maria. Anybody else have any announcements? Because we are past our 4:30, and I'm so happy you all stayed on. And
I'll do an announcement for Beach Cities Democrats. Wear my hat. On Wednesday, the 26th, we will have our meeting. It'll be another virtual meeting, and you'll find information on our website soon about that meeting. Our guest speaker is going to be Congressman Ted Lieu, and he's going to speak about the new districts that have been formed and what targeted districts in California we should be focusing on.
oh, very good.
That sounds
And
good.
the
Yeah.
good news is the homeless count is usually the fourth Wednesday of January and always conflicted with our meetings, but most of you probably know that they have postponed that now because of the rise of COVID. So that kind of lets us off the hook, Tony. I know we always had that conflict with our meetings and tried to wrap it up early so we could participate in the homeless count. It's not an issue on January 26th now. So please come here, Ted, at Beach City Democrats.
Okay, great.
what time is the meeting?
7 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
And it'll be up on our website soon. We were just working out the details for with the congressman.
Thank you.
I was at several meetings this past few weeks, one with Maritsuchi and one with Lou, and both of them did say that their districts were not affected very much by the redistricting. So that was good news. Glenn, you have to unmute.
My understanding is that Ted Lieu is moving out to the Palmdale, Palm Springs area, and he's no longer going to be in District 33. He sent out an email to that effect.
No, wrong.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I was very upset.
The number changes. The number changes to 36, but
Okay, good, because I looked it up and I was like, what?
it's possible Palmdale is now 33, but the district numbers don't stay with the Congress people necessarily. Al Maritsuchi keeps the number 66, but he might be the only one that gets to keep his old number. I don't know.
Well, that's good. That would have scared me too, because I didn't realize his number changed.
And Ben Allen is now 24, right, Connie? I think
so.
Yeah,
Yes.
24 now.
Maybe he should resend it, but the point I was going to say was New York has got a sustainability, it's a fashion sustainability and social accountability act that was put in place this week. And I actually sent it out to all of our California people and said, why aren't we on this? We should be leading. Why are we behind New York? And so I'm passionate about it. It was taking a percentage of profits from the bigger corporations, et cetera, people making more money and putting them back into the system, very much similar to the proposed medical benefit for Californians. So I want that on California too. It's got a sustainability act with social accountability. And I don't know if it's on your radar, but I think that it's fantastic and we should have it too. So.
Oh, okay. Could you, maybe you could email that to us
I will,
on from
I
our
will.
website? That would be great.
Perfect.
All right. Any other announcements or? Okay. Have a great weekend. Another 2 weeks of January.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Anne.
Take care.
Excellent meeting.
All right.
Thanks, Anne.
So much.
Thank you
Good
very
night.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Terrific meeting.